Kira Vance was only 12 years old when the burning of Earth Station 7 killed everyone she ever loved. She remembered the fire spreading through the corridors, the screams of her parents telling her to run, and the cold embrace of space as the escape pod launched her into the dark. For 3 days she drifted alone, a small girl in a metal box, watching the stars spin around her. The Thelian rescue ship found her half-frozen and barely breathing. They expected her to die. Humans were known to be fragile creatures, barely able to survive their own planet. But Kira did not die. She woke up, looked at her alien rescuers with eyes that held no fear, and asked them how their ship worked. That was the moment Commander Vorath of the Thelian fleet realized that humans were not what the galaxy believed them to be. 20 years later, Kira stood on the bridge of the ISS Prometheus, the first human starship to carry weapons powerful enough to challenge the great empires. She was no longer the scared girl in the escape pod. Her dark hair was cut short, her gray eyes were sharp and calculating, and her mind held more tactical knowledge than most military academies could teach in a lifetime. The crew around her moved with quiet efficiency, their faces showing complete trust in their captain. "Captain Vance," said Lieutenant Torres from the communication station, "we are receiving an emergency transmission from the Korath system. The message is badly damaged, but it appears the Verkai have broken the peace accord." Kira's jaw tightened. The Verkai were a warrior species that had conquered half the galaxy before the other races united to stop them. For 50 years, the peace accord had kept them contained to their own territory. If they were moving again, it meant war on a scale the galaxy had not seen in generations. "Show me the message," Kira ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing a Thelian commander with blue skin and silver eyes. His face was covered in burn marks, and behind him, Kira could see explosions and running soldiers. "To any ship that receives this," the Thelian gasped, "the Verkai have attacked the Korath diplomatic station. They killed Ambassador Soleth and his entire staff. They are taking the Nexus key. If they reach the convergence point, they will be able to control all hyperspace routes in the sector. The galaxy will fall. Please, someone must stop them." The message ended with static. Kira felt the weight of every eye on the bridge pressing against her. The Prometheus was the only ship in range. The Thelian fleet was 2 days away. The human home fleet was even further. If anyone was going to stop the Verkai, it would have to be them. "Navigation," Kira said calmly. "Set course for the Korath system. Maximum speed." "Captain," said her first officer, Commander Blake, "the Verkai fleet has at least 30 warships. We are one vessel against an armada. The odds are not in our favor." "The odds are never in our favor," Kira replied. "That has never stopped us before." The Prometheus jumped into hyperspace, its engines screaming as they pushed beyond safe limits. Kira retreated to her ready room and pulled up everything she knew about the Verkai. They were strong, aggressive, and completely without mercy. Their ships were built for destruction. Their commanders trained from birth to show no weakness. But they had one flaw that no amount of training could fix. They could not imagine losing. Kira had grown up losing everything. She understood failure in a way the Verkai never could. And she knew that sometimes the only way to win was to be willing to lose everything again. When the Prometheus dropped out of hyperspace in the Korath system, the scene was worse than Kira had expected. The diplomatic station was a burning ruin, debris floating in a cloud of destruction. And surrounding the convergence point, a massive structure of ancient alien technology, was the Verkai fleet. 32 warships, their black holes bristling with weapons, their lights glowing red like angry eyes. "They have seen us," Lieutenant Torres reported. "They are hailing." On screen, the face that appeared was Verkai, with dark scales, yellow eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. War leader Kragath was famous throughout the galaxy for his cruelty. He had burned entire worlds just to send a message. "A human ship," Kragath laughed, his voice rough like grinding stones. "One small vessel dares to face the might of the Verkai. You are either very brave or very stupid. Perhaps both," Kira said. "I am Captain Kira Vance of the ISS Prometheus. You have violated the peace accord and killed innocent diplomats. Surrender now, and you will face justice. Continue, and you will face me." Kregoth laughed harder, and his crew laughed with him. The sound echoed through the bridge like thunder. "You amuse me, human. Your species barely crawled out of the mud a few centuries ago. You are nothing compared to the Verkai. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. What have you done?" Kira smiled, and it was the smile of someone who had nothing left to lose. "I survived." She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. "All hands, battle stations. We are going to do something the Verkai have never experienced before. We are going to show them fear." The bridge erupted into action. Weapons powered up, shields activated, and the navigation officer began plotting evasive patterns. Kira watched her crew work and felt a strange calm settle over her. This was what she was made for. This was why she had survived the fire that killed her family. Not to live a quiet life, but to stand at the edge of destruction and push back. "Captain," Commander Blake said quietly, "what is the plan?" Kira pulled up a tactical display showing the Verkai formation. They had arranged their ships in a standard attack pattern, with the heavy warships in front and the support vessels behind. It was designed to crush enemies through pure, overwhelming force. Against a normal opponent, it would work perfectly. But Kira was not a normal opponent. "The Verkai believe in strength," she said. "They think that the strongest force always wins. But they forget that strength without intelligence is just destruction. We are not going to fight all 32 ships. We are going to fight one. The command ship. Kregoth controls everything from there. If we can take him down, the rest will fall into chaos. The command ship is in the center of the formation," Blake pointed out. "We will never reach it." "We will," Kira said, "because we are going to do something impossible. We are going to fly through the firestorm." She entered commands into her console, and the tactical display changed. It now showed a path through the Verkai fleet, weaving between the ships, using their own weapons' fire as cover. It was insane. It was suicide. And it was absolutely brilliant. "If we time it perfectly," Kira explained, "their own ships will block each other's firing lines. They will hit each other trying to hit us. By the time we reach Kregoth, half his fleet will be damaged by friendly fire." Commander Blake stared at the display for a long moment. Then he began to laugh. "Captain, you are completely mad." "I know," Kira said. "That is why it will work." The Prometheus dove into the Verkai formation like a knife through water. The enemy ships opened fire immediately, filling space with beams of energy and missiles that turned the darkness into a storm of destruction. But Kira had spent her entire life studying warfare, and she knew exactly where each shot would go before it was fired. "Hard to port," she commanded. "Now starboard. Drop 20 degrees and accelerate." The ship moved like a dancer, spinning and diving through gaps in the enemy fire. The bridge crew held on as the vessel shook from near misses, but Kira remained standing, her eyes fixed on the tactical display, her mind calculating trajectories faster than any computer. "2 Verkai destroyers have collided," Torres reported with surprise in her voice. "A third has lost shields from friendly fire. They are not used to enemies who cannot stand and fight," Kira said. "Their training is based on dominance, not adaptation. Keep moving." The Prometheus continued its impossible dance, and the Verkai fleet began to tear itself apart. Kregoth's voice came over the open channel, screaming orders at his captains, demanding they stop firing at each other. But the chaos was too great. Years of training that assumed superiority could not overcome the reality of a single ship that refused to die. "We are approaching the command ship," Blake announced. "Weapons range in 30 seconds. Prepare the avatar system," Kira ordered. The bridge went quiet. Avatar was humanity's secret weapon, developed in the dark years after Earth Station 7. It was a direct neural interface that allowed a human mind to control the ship's systems as if they were extensions of their own body. But it came with a cost. The mental strain was enormous, and prolonged use could cause permanent brain damage. No one had ever used it in actual combat. "Captain," Blake said carefully, "the Avatar system has never been tested under these conditions. The risk to you is extreme." "I know." Kira moved to the command chair and placed the neural interface crown on her head. "But we did not come here to be safe. We came here to win." She activated the system, and suddenly the Prometheus was her body. She felt the engines as muscles, the sensors as eyes, the weapons as hands. The ship was no longer a machine. It was Kira, expanded to the size of a starship. The sensation was overwhelming. Every piece of data from every system flooded into her mind at once. For a moment, she thought she would break. But then she remembered the escape pod. 3 days alone in the dark, learning to survive when survival should have been impossible. She had been broken before. She had rebuilt herself stronger. The Prometheus accelerated toward Kragoth's command ship, and Kira felt herself moving through space like a comet of determination and fire. Kragoth's ship was massive, 3 times the size of the Prometheus, covered in weapons that could destroy a planet. It turned to face her, its main cannon charging with energy that glowed like a captured star. "Human." Kragoth's voice came through the comms, and now there was no laughter in it. "What are you?" "I am what happens when you burn everything someone loves," Kira replied, her voice merging with the ship's systems until it seemed to come from everywhere at once. "I am what grows from the ashes. I am humanity, and we do not break." She fired everything the Prometheus had. Missiles, energy beams, kinetic rounds, all aimed at the exact same point on Kragoth's shields. It was a technique no computer would recommend, a gamble that relied on precision beyond what machines could achieve. But Kira was not using a machine to aim. She was using her own mind, her own instincts, her own desperate will to survive. The shields collapsed. The command ship's main cannon exploded before it could fire. And as the enemy vessel began to break apart, Kira pushed the Prometheus through the debris field, dodging chunks of metal that would have killed anyone relying on sensors alone. "Kragoth's ship is destroyed," Tora said, her voice shaking with disbelief. "The Volkai fleet is retreating. They are actually running away." The bridge erupted in cheers, but Kira barely heard them. She was pulling off the neural interface, her hands trembling, her vision blurred. Blood dripped from her nose, and her head felt like it had been split open from the inside. "Captain!" Blake rushed to her side. "Medical team to the bridge now." "Wait," Kira whispered. She looked at the main screen, where the Volkai ships were jumping away in panic. "Send a message. To everyone. Tell them what happened here today. Tell them that humanity stands with the galaxy. Tell them that no one burns alone anymore." Then she collapsed. Kira woke up 3 days later in the medical bay, surrounded by flowers and messages from across the galaxy. The Thelian commander she had seen in the distress call was sitting beside her bed, his burns healing, his silver eyes wet with tears. "You saved us," he said simply. "One ship, one human. You saved us all." "I did what anyone would do," Kira replied, her voice still weak. "No." The Thelian shook his head. "The other races, they would have calculated the odds and waited for reinforcements. They would have done the logical thing. But you flew into the fire. That is not logic. That is something else. Something we do not have a word for in our language." Kira smiled, and despite the pain, it was a real smile. "In human language, we call it hope." In the years that followed, the galaxy changed. The peace accord was strengthened, with humanity taking a place at the table alongside the ancient empires. The Volkai were pushed back further than ever before, and Kira Vance became a legend. The orphan genius who commanded through Firestorms and showed the universe that Intelligence and courage could overcome any odds. But Kira never forgot where she came from. Every year, on the anniversary of the burning of Earth Station 7, she would light a candle and sit alone, remembering the parents who told her to run and the little girl who survived against all reason. And every year, she would look out at the stars and know that somewhere, on some distant world, another orphan was watching the same stars, dreaming of something greater. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy not through conquest or domination, but through the simple refusal to give up. They had looked into the darkness, seen the impossible, and said, "We can do that." The galaxy had learned to respect many things. But the thing they respected most about humans was the one thing no other species could quite understand: the ability to be broken and to rise from the ashes stronger than before. This was the legacy of Kira Vance. This was the gift of humanity. And as the Prometheus flew on through the endless night, its captain stood on the bridge, looked at the stars, and smiled. The fire that had taken everything from her had also given her something. It had given her purpose. It had given her a family in her crew. And it had given her the chance to make sure that no one else would ever burn alone. Because that was what humanity did. They took the worst the universe could throw at them, and they turned it into something beautiful. They commanded through firestorms. And they always kept going.